What is up, everybody, and welcome back to Touchdown and Ties, the father-daughter sports podcast where she knows ball because he taught her. I'm your co-host, Brianna, the daughter of this duo.
What up, everybody? And I'm Keith, her dad, the other co-host.
In today's episode, we are going to be wrapping up part 2 of Week 13 of the NFL. But before we do, if you haven't already, please go ahead and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. That way you get updated whenever we upload an episode. And of course, it also helps us out as well. All right, let's go ahead and get into it.
All right, let's do it.
All right, let's start out with probably the biggest upset this week, which was the Rams versus the Panthers. The Rams were favored by 9.5 points, and they had the second largest upset in the NFL this season. It was a great opening possession for the Rams. They went down, they scored with the pass to Davante Adams, and who has also had 11 scores in the past 6 games, so he himself has been on the roll. But it was definitely an uncharacteristic game for Matthew Stafford, who has been in the conversation for the MVP this season. He was picked off twice in the first quarter in back-to-back possessions, and he hasn't done that, had an interception in 10 weeks. So that was kind of unfortunate for him.
Yeah, it just goes to show you the unpredictability of the NFL. The Rams came in, one of the hottest teams in the NFL, had won 6 games in a row, and they were blowing teams out. Other than the Seattle game a couple of weeks ago, I think they only won that game by 2 points. During that streak, they were beating people by double digits. It's tough sometimes for these teams to come from the West Coast and come all the way to the East Coast and then have to play those early games. I don't know why it is, but sometimes it's just hard on them to win those games. But the Panthers are a pretty decent team. They've been an up and down team all season. Win one, lose one, win one, lose one. And they just played well Sunday. I talked about Stafford. He hadn't thrown a pick since, I think, week 3 of the season. He set the record for the most touchdown passes before throwing an interception. I had 28 touchdown passes. He broke a record set by Tom Brady, ironically.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 28 touchdown passes without an interception. But the interception that they had in the first quarter kind of shifted the momentum because it was in the end zone. The pass got tipped and the Panthers guy intercepted it, and that kind of shifted the momentum a little bit at that time. It was still early in the game, but the Rams were like moving the ball at will. And Panthers ended up picking him off, and it kind of settled things down for them. And Bryce Young started to play well. So you just never know with the NFL.
And these are not the Panthers of the past. I mean, they're 7-6. I mean, I don't know what their record was last season, but I don't remember the Panthers being good at all, at least the past few years, you know?
Yeah, it wasn't 7-6.
Yeah, no, it definitely was nowhere near a winning record. Let's just say that.
Right.
Yeah. And then we had that moment later on in the game when it seemed like, again, the Rams were moving the ball pretty efficiently down the field. They were actually going to come back and win the game because the Panthers were leading at the time. And then Matthew Stafford was sacked and then he fumbled the ball. That was the first time that's happened to him since week 17 of the 2021 season.
Wow.
It is 2025. I was like, that cannot be right.
Wow.
Saw it in an article last night and I was like, that is an insane amount of time for that particular situation.
So I didn't know that stat.
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
pretty impressive.
Yeah, did you see the that big one-handed grab from Puka Nakua at the end?
Yeah,
I don't know if it was at the end, but that was
crazy.
Yeah. I thought he was hurt, but I guess I don't follow the Rams that much, so I didn't know.
He's been in and out.
Yeah. Okay.
He's been nicked up a lot throughout the course of the season, but when he's playing, Puka is one of the top receivers in the NFL. Easy.
Yeah,
he's easily
like how unfair is it you have Davante Adams and Puka Nakua on your team? What?
Yeah.
That is fair.
Davante Adams, shout out to him, man. I know he's very happy to have found a landing spot with the Rams, gets to play with Matt Stafford. I think Davante Adams may be leading the NFL in touchdown receptions. I think he may have like 13 or 14 touchdown receptions this year.
Wouldn't be surprised,
he's having an all-pro season playing with the Rams, playing with Matt Stafford. So I'm sure he's pretty happy about that after, I think you touched on this a couple of weeks ago, like to be playing with the Jets and playing with the Raiders or whatever, and to get a landing spot like with the Rams. And I knew this, or I felt like it would be a good spot for him when in the offseason when he signed with the Rams, get an opportunity to play with Matt Stafford. I thought that he would, have a good season. I didn't think it would be like this, but, there's still, 4 games to go, 5 games to go?
Yeah, 5 games to go.
Yeah. Pretty sure he's happy.
I mean, I remember from the receiver documentary on Netflix, he was one of the guys that they covered.
He was one of the guys they featured.
Yeah. So he was playing for the Raiders at the time. So just seeing his frustration on the show, just you kind of got a glimpse into that. It's nice that he's having the season that he's having now in LA.
Right.
So it's like you're playing good football, you're playing Matthew Stafford, you're in LA. Like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Look me, I'm Davante Adams.
And he's always been
I was
a
gonna say
top
it's,
receiver.
yeah, it's just
He's
that his
always been
skill
pretty
wasn't able
good.
to come out at the teams that he was playing at. So I understand his frustration. If that's what he could have been doing all this time, I get why he was upset for sure.
Yeah, you need a good quarterback. I mean, you
Yeah.
definitely need a good quarterback. Look at what's going on in Minnesota with Justin Jefferson. How
Yeah.
frustrated he is not being able to put up the numbers that he's used to putting up when
Right.
he's playing with good quarterbacks. And
Right.
now he's not playing with a good quarterback, and now you don't really hear anything from Justin Jefferson.
Jefferson at all. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, because
unfortunate
when
for him,
Kirk
but
Cousins was there, I mean, he was putting up all kinds of numbers. So I know, unfortunately
yeah.
for him, once Kirk Cousins left, that kind of dominoed onto his production as well. Because not only do they not really have a good
Mhm.
quarterback, they just don't really have a quarterback. Period. There's just a
Well,
quarterback issue going on right now with the Vikings.
yeah, but he played with Sam Darnold last year. Darnold was on their
Right.
team
Right. Right.
last year, and
Yeah.
he had a good season with Sam Darnold. But this
Yeah.
year, with any combination of JJ McCarthy, Carson Wentz, Max, I think his name is Max Brosmer, the guy who
Brosner, Ross, or
played
something like that. Yeah.
Sunday,
Yeah.
it's been a struggle. It's
Yeah, I
been a
mean,
struggle.
I think I touched on this a little bit in the past. I don't remember too many NFL games, or I don't see too many NFL games where they just
Mhm.
completely get shut out. You at least get a field goal.
Yeah,
You had
it's rare.
0 points on the board. That happens all the time in college football, but I
Yeah,
feel like I never see that in the NFL where it's 0 points that are put on the board. It's kinda crazy.
yeah. You normally at least get a field goal.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
when you turn the ball over 5 times, it's gonna be hard. You're
Yeah.
struggling to generate any type of offense whatsoever because even
Yeah.
in that game, Seattle only had like 225 yards of offense themselves. They didn't do a whole lot. But
Yeah.
when you force 5 turnovers from the other team and you hold them to, less than 170 yards, I think. Well, I don't know the exact number, but I know Minnesota didn't put up a lot of yards. You yourself won't have to put up a lot of yards because Seattle kicked a lot of field goals. So the Vikings
Mhm.
defense, considering that they gave up 5 turnovers in that game, the Vikings defense actually played pretty well.
Right.
But when the offense is giving it away, you give the other team 5 extra possessions. It's kind of hard to overcome that.
Right.
And we saw that. So
Yeah. Just makes the Lions' loss to the Vikings that much more of a gut punch because I say
you know
it
that,
week after
yeah.
week. They have
Mhm.
lost 2 games in a row before they played the Lions. They beat the Lions fair and square. They made the Lions look horrible,
Mhm.
and they've lost every game
I think
since.
4 in a row since.
Yeah.
And that loss for the Lions against Minnesota at home is going to come back and haunt them.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be a dogfight in the NFC just to make it to the playoffs. And having that loss, especially coming out of the bye week, the Lions were coming off their bye, and you lose that game, it may be one at the end of the season. You go back and say, man, had they not lost that game. So now what the Lions are going to have to do, they're going to have to go and steal one on the road to
Yeah.
kind of make up for it. They're going to have to go later on this month and go to LA and beat the Rams, a
Right.
team that I'm pretty sure they'll probably be the underdog in that game. They're going to have to win a game like that,
Mhm.
if you will, to kind of make up for that loss that they had at home against Minnesota. And at the same
Yeah.
time, they really can't afford to lose any more
Any
games. I
more
mean, because
games?
I
They've
think
already
it's going to
lost
take,
5.
yeah, it's going to take probably 10 or 11 wins to make it to the
Yeah.
playoffs in the NFC, other than the team that wins the NFC South. Yeah, whoever wins that division, they don't necessarily have to win that many games. But
Right.
if you're talking about making it in as a wild card team, let me just put it to you like that. If you're talking about making it in as a wild card team, you're probably going to have to get to at least 10 or 11 games,
Right.
10 or 11 victories.
And now with the Panthers, when they beat the Rams, I think the Bucks won this weekend too, right?
They did.
They did. So
They
are the
beat
Bucks
the
still in?
Cardinals.
They beat the Cardinals. Okay, yeah. So the
Mhm.
Bucks are still ahead of the Panthers as of right now.
They are, simply
They are.
because Tampa's only played 12 games and Carolina's played 13 games. So
Right.
Tampa is a half game ahead of Carolina because Tampa is 7-5
Right.
and Carolina is 7 and
7 and
6.
6.
I'm pretty sure this has happened before, and I just didn't notice it. But to have your bye week this late in the season is if you're able to survive the first 13 weeks of the season without having your bye, and by that mean I'm talking about not having a bunch of
Bunch of
injuries.
injuries, yeah.
And now, like, you get a bye week, the last 4 weeks of the season, I think is a huge advantage. You have
Sure.
like the 2 teams that played last night, the Giants and the Patriots have a bye
Patriots.
week this week. And then the 49ers and the Panthers have bye weeks.
Right.
And 3 of those 4 teams are in the mix to make the playoffs.
But the
And
playoff.
you get a bye week. I know the 49ers had a bunch of injuries at the beginning of the season. I know they got some of the guys back. Brock Purdy came back. George Kittle
Yeah.
came back. But to, have a bye week this late in the season, I think is an advantage for those guys.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you get an extra week off for the stretch run. I
Yeah,
think
that's
it's
true.
an advantage.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
least me personally. I don't know. Maybe not. We'll see. But I think it's
I
an
mean,
advantage.
The bye week, no matter when you have it, I feel like obviously is helpful, but I think if the narrative will be flipped per se, if you did
Hmm.
have a lot of injuries and now your bye week doesn't come until week 14, that's not
Yeah.
good because you don't have time
Right.
to basically 2 weeks to help to get guys back and get them to
Right.
be back starting and playing, especially if you have key guys that had like little nagging injuries that sometimes that bye week actually does really help them.
Yeah.
It's an advantage, I feel if like you said, if you've been able to stay healthy throughout this whole entire
Yeah.
time.
Well, it's an advantage if you can stay healthy, and then also, I mean, when you look at these teams' records, the Patriots had the best record in the NFL, so they
Yeah.
survived the first 13 weeks of the season, right?
Yeah.
They're
Aren't they
11 and
tied
2,
with the Broncos? Because the Broncos are 10-2 now, right?
but the Patriots are
After
11 and 2 because they won.
'Cause they
They won
played last
last
night,
night.
right.
They
Yeah,
played
you're right,
last
you're right.
night.
You're
You
right.
know, and then you look at the 49ers. I mean, they're 9 and
9 and
4.
4, yeah,
I think,
something like
yeah.
that.
So you survived playing the first 13 weeks of the season.
Yeah,
The
without your
Panthers are
quarterback for
7
a
and
while.
6. Yeah, without your quarterback. And the Panthers are 7 and 6. So again, these
Mhm,
teams, I'm pretty sure they all had injuries. It's the NFL, everybody have injuries, have
right,
a ton of injuries or whatever. But the point is, these teams managed to make it to this point of their season being in the mix. And now
right.
they get a bye week to rest up guys
Kinda
that may
finish
have
out
nagging
strong.
injuries and that sort of thing. You get that extra week. So I think it's a huge advantage for these
For
guys
sure,
now
yeah,
that they have made it to this point of the season. It'd be a different story if you're the Giants and you're 2 and 11. Who cares
yeah,
about the bye week at this point? Your season is over. You just
yeah,
want it to be over with, right?
yeah.
But if you're those other teams that I just talked about, and you are sitting pretty with an opportunity here to make a push late in the season, and you get to rest your guys for an extra week, I think that's a huge advantage for them.
Let's talk about the Falcons and the Jets. As Aaron Glenn would say, "Who wanna fly with the freaking Jets?" He says the F word. I'm not gonna say that because my
Right.
father is in the room with me per se, so I have some respect. But look at the Jets. They got their 3rd win of the season. I don't care. I know the fan base probably feels one way, but I'm a root for Aaron Glenn down every single time. So I'm finally happy that they got that 3rd win of the season. So that was good for them.
Yeah.
And they're by no means the worst team in the AFC. The Browns have the same record, and then the Titans. I didn't even know the Titans were 1-11. I had no idea that
Yeah.
they're probably not even the worst team in the AFC, probably just the worst team in the league at 1-11.
Yeah, they
That
are.
yeah,
Yeah.
that is crazy. Yeah, but
Yeah, I don't think anybody else has just one win. So yeah,
yeah,
it's going to be them who will probably end up getting. Well, the Raiders only have 2 victories, so I guess
yeah,
there's a chance there. The Giants only have 2 victories.
yeah,
The Saints only have 2 victories. Wow.
yeah.
So
So all
that's
those teams we used to say would be getting
wow.
some of the top picks in the draft. So that's good
I
for
know.
them. But Tyrod Taylor, who was announced as the starting quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens game, he had a
Hmm.
really good game yesterday. Aaron Glenn came out and said that he pulled them out of a lot of tight situations and gave him a lot of credit for how he performed against the Falcons because,
Hmm.
again, it was kind of a shootout between both of those teams that they were able to kind of come back and at least get to the lead at one point, tie the game, and then they got him down the field to kick that field goal. And one cool fact about that was that the kicker, Nick Folk, I believe his name is, he was a
Hmm.
teammate of Aaron Glenn at one point in time. And now Aaron Glenn is his coach and he gave him the game ball
Wow.
at the end of the game. I thought that was a really cool, I mean, how, not gonna say how old do you have to be, because obviously they were teammates, they're the same age, but it's just kind of
Hmm.
crazy how people's paths take them a different way and they
Yeah.
still ended up being back on the same path. So I thought that was a pretty cool and sentimental kind of moment between the two of them after the game.
I didn't know that. I know Nick
Yeah.
Folk has been around for a long time, but I didn't know
Yeah.
their paths crossed. Seriously,
Yeah. Yeah.
really?
Yeah. Teammate
Because I
teammates at
remember.
one time, now the coach.
Seriously?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, because I remember Aaron Glenn played back in the 90s.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, you said Nick
And
Folk has been around for a long time, so yeah.
wow, okay. All
Yeah.
right. Okay.
So I don't know the age gap and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, that's what he said in the locker room in the speech. He was just like, "This man used to be my teammate at one point in time." I thought that
That's
was pretty
crazy.
cool. Yeah, I thought that was
That is
pretty cool.
crazy.
Yeah.
I did not realize
Yeah.
that. I would
Yeah.
have to look that one up. I did not know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's
And
pretty
then
cool.
another thing too, Justin Fields finally came out and for the first time since being benched after that Baltimore Ravens game. And despite what Aaron Glenn said, Justin Fields
Mhm.
apparently is saying that it caught him off guard and he wasn't really expecting to be benched at the time. Because
Mhm.
obviously there was a conversation was happening throughout the season. And Aaron Glenn, once he finally made that decision, basically said that it's not something that's personal. It's a hard thing for anybody to go through but each of those guys, but he had to do what was best for the team at that moment. But it's just unfortunate because you've said it before, as good as Justin Fields was at Ohio State, it's kind of hard to see what his production has been in the NFL. This is not, I feel like, a trajectory anybody thought that he was going to have in the NFL.
It's definitely not me. I thought when he got drafted by the Bears, I was like, man, Justin Fields is going to be a problem. And in the NFC North with the Lions, I'm like, Justin
Yeah.
Fields is going to be a problem. But for whatever reason, it hasn't, worked out for him and the teams that he's been on with the Jets.
The
Now
Bears, yeah.
the Bears, he played with the Steelers last year, which
Yeah.
when he was with the Steelers last year, I thought he played pretty well the
He's
first
probably
4 or
the
5
best that
games of the
he's
season.
played.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the
Yeah.
record that they started out with before they put Russell Wilson in, Justin Fields was the reason for that. That's why I was
Yeah.
even surprised that he got benched during that time because I'm like, he's been playing really well. I don't know why. I mean, I get Russell
Yeah.
Wilson as a vet, but it's not like Russell Wilson is, unfortunately playing lights out either.
Mhm.
So that's why I was surprised that they put him in over Justin Fields.
Sometimes it's just putting yourself or being put in the right position, the right situation. And so far for Justin Fields, it doesn't seem as if he has found the right situation for people to develop his talent. Because when you
Yeah.
look at the guy play, man, I mean, especially like a couple years ago with the Bears, he was killing it. And then I think he
Yeah.
ended up getting hurt.
Yeah.
And when he came back, he wasn't as effective. But at one time, a couple years ago with the Bears, early on in the season, he was really playing well, leading the league in touchdown passes. He was having some big runs. Then he got hurt, and then when he came back, it shifted. It was a little bit different after that.
Right.
But I don't know. It's puzzling sometimes when you see these guys dominate, if you will, in college and come to the NFL, and you're just like, man, what happened?
Yeah.
So, but I think it's all about being put in the right position. And
Yeah.
right now, he just haven't been put in the right situation.
He was asked of, where do you think you're going to be next year or what have all the hypotheticals, what if
Mhm.
kind of questions. And everybody knows that Justin Fields is very in touch with his religion and with God. And he was just saying that there's a
Mhm.
verse in the Bible that it's just like not to worry about tomorrow because you have enough problems for today. And I was like, amen. Yes, that is
Right.
so true. I hope that, I guess, because like I said, because his production thus far at these three teams has not been the most ideal situation. I hope that somebody would still give him a chance. But if he keeps going to these teams that are kind of mid, there's nobody there to
Yeah.
really help his production, then his NFL career could probably end earlier than I feel like it should because he's obviously, like I said, there's no scrubs. So he got drafted for a reason.
Yeah. No, Sam Darnold is a perfect example. He
Mhm.
bounced around the league. He was a high draft
Mhm.
pick. He
Yeah.
struggled early in his career, but then he was able to, go to Minnesota. He got with Kevin O'Connell, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden, Sam Darnold is
Yeah.
not as bad as people thought that he was.
Daniel
Baker,
Jones, he's a good
Daniel
example.
Jones, Baker
Baker
Mayfield.
Mayfield. Yeah. Those are all great
So
examples.
hopefully, this same type of thing will happen for Justin Fields because I think he has a lot of talent.
Yeah,
I think he can help a team out if he
for
gets to
sure.
the right situation.
Right. Let's wrap things up with the Sunday night game that I thought was going to be a blowout. You always say that there are some games on paper that look good and that don't look good. This was the latter. I did
Mhm.
not think that this game was going to go how it was going to go. And it was probably the best
No.
primetime game that we've had in at least 3 weeks minimum.
On paper, it looked like it was gonna be a bad game, but
Yeah.
it probably turned out to be the best game of the day. It
Yeah.
was between that and the Rams and
The
the
Rams
Panthers.
and Panthers.
But yeah, it was a really good game. It was a really
Yeah.
good game. It had an interesting ending. I was happy to see that when it went to overtime, I was happy to see that the Commanders went for 2 instead of
Okay.
playing for the tie. It just made sense
Okay.
to me.
Yeah.
Only
You
won
were kind
3
of explaining it,
games.
but I'm curious to see, like, hear your thoughts about it again.
Yeah, you only won 3 games so far. Your season is over.
Yeah.
So why are we playing for a tie? Number one. Then number two, I put your players back on the field and you object them to being injured.
Right.
In a game that really for you, it really had no meaning unless you're talking about a coach trying to keep his job and that sort of thing. And
Right.
Dan Quinn is not in any danger of being fired by the
No.
Commanders, right?
No.
So you're sitting at 3-8. Why are we going to kick the extra point in that situation and go for a tie? Why?
Yeah.
You still would have had 2+ minutes, I think, to go in the game. So the Broncos got the ball back, so they still had an opportunity to score. But that's what I'm saying. Now you're putting these guys on the field again, subjecting them to being hurt.
Right.
You're 3-8. Your season
Yeah.
is over.
Right.
Go for the win.
Yeah.
And I
guess that's
think
true.
that I think that a lot about teams that's like if you're the Titans, Go for every fourth down. Why not?
Well, yeah, why not? At that point,
You only
yeah.
won one game.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
the Saints. Go for it on
yeah,
every fourth down. Why
yeah,
not? You have
you have
nothing to
literally
lose,
nothing to
bro.
lose. You have nothing to
You have
lose,
nothing to
yeah.
lose. Yeah.
And when they were going for that two-point conversion, I thought they had it. Dude was wide open. That was gonna
He
be
was
a
wide open.
walk-in touchdown, and then they
Benito
blocked
made a great
it.
play.
Yeah, that was a
The linebacker made a great
clutch
play
play.
because he
Yeah,
was the I forget who it was that was open in the flat there, but
yeah,
if Mariota would have been able to get the ball to him, he would have walked in for the
game
2-point
over
conversion and they would have won
for
the
sure.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah, but the guy just made a good play. He
yeah.
made a good play.
Yeah. I mean, this is familiar territory, one could say, for the Broncos. They have been in these kind of situations coming from behind or close games or whatever throughout the whole entire season. They have a pretty solid defense. It seems like their
Mhm.
offense is inconsistent, which has kind of been maybe the catalyst for everything that
Mhm.
has been going on with them. But for the first 3 quarters, they didn't really look like the dominant 9-2 team or whatever their 9-3, whatever their
Mhm.
record was at the time, going throughout the game. And then until the Commanders started to come back, and then in overtime, the offense finally came alive again. They got that big touchdown in their first possession. And there was one point, it was a fourth down, I want to say, with the
Mhm.
Commanders. And they got the pass interference call that arguably would have been the end of the game, and the Broncos would have just won right there. And
Right.
because they got that PI call,
Right.
they
Right.
got those 15 yards. So
Yeah, Bo Nix actually played a pretty good game for the Broncos
yeah,
on Sunday night. He played well, and the Broncos do have a really good defense. So it was a good win for them. They're trying to keep pace with the Patriots for the best record in
mhm,
the AFC. They're trying to stay
yeah,
ahead of the Chargers in the
yeah,
AFC West. So I think the Broncos have won like 9 games in a row or something like
yeah,
that. I mean, and then
yeah.
also in that game, we got to talk about the catch that Treylon Burks had in
Oh,
the end zone.
yeah.
That was a heck of a
Yeah,
heck of a
the
catch.
Odell Beckham adjacent catch,
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
crazy,
that
yeah.
was a heck of a
Everybody
catch.
keeps talking I was thinking because I was like, between Puka Nakua's catch and that one by Burks, I'm like, which one was the better one? I would say Burks. I mean, not that one was better than the other, but I don't know, something about that
Yeah,
catch. I think it's just because of Sunday night game, it was hyped, was going back and forth. The Commanders keeping pace
yeah,
with the Broncos, making that catch was unreal.
yeah. If I'm not mistaken, the Odell Beckham catch was also on a Sunday night against the Cowboys, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken. But yeah,
yeah,
not that that mean anything, but just made me
right.
think about that. But that
Yeah.
Puka Nakua catch was insane.
I mean, because that was,
That was
like,
insane.
behind him, it was kinda
Yeah,
like this, and then he flipped it around, so, like, it was just
yeah.
different parts of both those catches that were just super, super impressive.
They both were impressive, but the only reason why I was more impressed with the Puka catch is because I hadn't really seen somebody catch the ball like that before.
Yeah, I
With
guess you yeah,
with the
yeah.
Burks catch, I mean, it was like Odell Beckham,
Oh, yeah,
right?
Odell
So
Beckham
you kind of like
adjacent,
saw
yeah.
that before.
Yeah, that's
Doesn't
a
make
good point.
it doesn't make it any less impressive. It's just that you
Right.
kind of saw it before.
Yeah, like, guys
You know
kinda
what I
do that
mean?
little, reach back one hand thing all the time. Like I said,
Yeah,
Puka was literally kind of, like, coming behind himself, and then
yeah,
that was pretty
uh,
cool. That's a good point. That's a really good point,
yeah,
yeah. But shout out to the Commanders for staying in there against the
yeah.
Broncos. That was again, in overtime when they had that
Hmm.
big touchdown, I think was to Terry McLaurin,
Yeah,
and they had the holding penalty. And I was like,
right.
"Dude!" I was like, "That's it." I was like, "They're done." And then they got Debo, so they passed it to Debo, and then he got down to basically the goal. I don't know where he was, but they stayed in there. I was happy to see that, but like you said, the Commanders are far out of any conversation for postseason talks, so it would have
Yeah,
been nice to make it a little victory. The Broncos need to keep pace, but, I
right.
mean, they're sitting pretty right now in the AFC.
Yeah, the Commanders can only play spoilers right now because their
Mhm.
season is over. Jane Daniels unfortunately was banged up a lot this season,
Yeah,
so
a
we
lot,
didn't really
yeah.
get an opportunity to follow up on what he did last year as a
Right.
rookie because he was
Yeah,
hurt so much this season. But right
yeah.
now I think they still play the Eagles twice. I think I know
Yeah,
they
they
play the
do.
Cowboys again, so they have an opportunity to spoil it for a few teams. But
Yeah,
as far as their season is concerned, they're not going to the
yeah.
postseason. Man,
It's
they're not
over
going to
with.
the postseason.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. You think to make it to the postseason in the NFC, especially, you're going to have to get at least 10 victories. You're going to
Yeah.
have to get at least to 10, if not 11.
Mhm.
Going to have to get that many victories because there are so many good teams
Right.
in the NFC this year. Because the Lions right now, they're sitting at number 8. The Cowboys
Yeah,
are at number 9.
yeah.
And that's why I said this game coming up on Thursday is like an
It's a
elimination
must-win.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a must win for
yeah,
both these teams,
yeah.
especially
Because
for the Lions.
they're
Especially
sitting
for the
2 games
Lions.
behind right now. The 49ers, like you said, Lions have won 7 games, the 49ers have won 9.
Won
So,
9 games, yeah.
yeah. And Hutchinson did
Yeah.
an interview, and he was like, "It's easy to have grit when you're winning games. Now you gotta
Yeah.
have grit when you're kinda coming from behind." So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna be a tough game for them on Thursday, especially with the Cowboys, who we kinda talked about on the previous episode, who have been playing really well.
Playing very well, yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing with the Cowboys, if they beat the Lions, even with the Lions on their schedule, the Cowboys have an opportunity to win the rest of their games.
Mhm.
When you look at their schedule, in no particular order, I don't know the order of their schedule. I just know
Mhm.
who they play. They play the
Mm.
Lions. I believe they play the Vikings. They play
Mhm.
the Chargers. They play the Commanders, and they play the Giants. I mean,
Those are always all winnable games for them.
they're
Yeah.
very, very winnable games. So the reason why I said it's a must win for the Lions more so than the Cowboys, because now if you lose that game, you still got to go play LA
On the
and
road.
on the road. You still got to go play Chicago at the end of the season on
Mhm.
the road. You still have to play the Steelers. The Lions they have some tough games left. So if you lose to the Cowboys and all of a sudden you start looking at all the tiebreak scenarios, all the teams that are in front of you practically have beaten you,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
So unless you get 11 victories, but then if the Cowboys get to 11 because they have that tie,
before them.
they're going to
Mm.
have a better record than you.
Yeah.
So it's a must win for Detroit. Detroit haven't lost back to back games since 2022. So it's been 3 years since they lost back to back
Oh, yeah.
games. They need to keep that streak alive. They
Yeah.
have to win this game. If the Lions lose this game, to me, the season is over.
Eh,
Unless something bizarre happens. But if they lose this game, to me, their season is going to be on life support. Let me just put it to you like that. Maybe it won't be over, but it'll be on life support. Because anything can happen,
yeah.
right? I mean, Chicago could lose the rest of their games. Who knows? And the Lions could end up sneaking in and being ahead of them. But you also have the Panthers that's sitting right there at 7-6.
7 and 6,
So,
yeah.
if the Lions lose to the Cowboys, now they're tied with the Panthers at 7-6. So I
Right.
don't know. Again, I don't know what the tie break means between those two teams. But I know the Lions have lost a lot of games in the NFC. So they would be 4-5 in the NFC. So the Lions would be behind the Panthers if they lose this game. So they would fall all the way down to like
To
the
number 9.
the 10th spot. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
their
because 'cause they're
season
8
probably
right
would be
now.
over. If they lose this
Oh,
game, their season probably would be over.
well,
Unless they were to win the rest of their games, because they could still finish maybe 11-6 and maybe they'll have an opportunity. But
yeah.
it would just make it that much. Let me correct myself. It'll make it that much more difficult for them
Mhm.
to make it to the playoffs. They still will have 4 games to go. A lot of football still left to play. Anything can happen, but their path to the playoffs would be increasingly more difficult
Right.
if they lost that game to the Cowboys. So let's
Yeah.
just say it like that.
Yeah, they would need things to happen to other teams and,
Yeah,
again,
they would need a
things
lot
that
of
are
help.
a lot of help, which, like you always say,
Yeah,
that you never wanna be in that position.
yeah.
Yeah.
Another team that switching to the AFC that we talked
Mhm.
about that looked good early in the season were the Colts. They were
Yeah,
sitting at 7-1 at one time, and now they've
right.
lost 3 of their last 4 games.
Yeah, they're now 8
They're
and
eight and
4,
four. They're now
tied with the Chargers and
behind.
the Bills.
Yeah, they've lost the lead in the division to the Jaguars, who are also 8-4.
Right.
But the good thing about that is that those two teams still have to play each other twice
Yeah.
coming down the stretch. So we have some good divisional races too, because the Panthers and the going back to the NFC now, the Panthers
Hmm.
and the Buccaneers
They
are
have played each other.
basically they have to play each other 2 out of the last 3 weeks, I believe, of the
Yeah.
season. The Panthers have their bye week this week. We talked about that. If depending on what happens with the Buccaneers, I don't remember who they play, but the Buccaneers could either be 1 game ahead of the Panthers or they can be tied the last four weeks of the season, and then they play each other twice in the last 3 weeks. So you got some good divisional races, and
Yeah.
then don't forget about the Texans. I mean, I keep going back and forth, but you
I
have
know
some
you go
really
back and
good
forth, yeah, because they
some
they
really
play the
good
Chiefs
races
this
here.
upcoming week,
They
so,
play
yeah,
the
I mean,
Chiefs, yeah.
yeah,
The
I'm
Texans
arguably
are
trying to
there.
feel like trying to think what division is tighter right now, the AFC or the NFC, but it seems like there are so many matchups coming up that are gonna determine a lot of people's seasons that
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. The NFC West, you have 3 teams all with 9
Yeah.
victories.
Yeah.
They all 3, the Rams, the
The
Seahawks,
Rams
and the
and the
49ers are all
49ers.
sitting with 9 victories. So, that's why I say you have a lot of football left. And,
Yeah.
the NFL has the schedule set up to where these teams are going to play each other
Right.
coming down the stretch. So you
Right.
got a lot of good games because I think Seattle and I want to say Seattle and the Rams play each other Thursday night in a couple weeks, maybe 2 more weeks.
I
They play each
believe
other
so.
on
I think
Thursday
I
night.
think I
Yeah.
did see that on the schedule, and I was looking at that, and I was like, "Oop, I
Yeah.
can't wait for that game because I think it's
Yeah.
closer to
It's the 18th, I believe.
yeah,
I
somewhere
believe it's the
around
18th.
there. somewhere
It's on a
around there.
Thursday night. I know it's on a Thursday
It's a
night.
Thursday night. I know that much. Yeah,
Hmm.
I do know that much. It's a Thursday night game. So I was like, that'll
Yeah.
be a good one for sure because,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of akin to what the Lions were with the Vikings towards the end of the year
Last
last
year.
year.
Yeah. Last year.
Yeah,
Yeah. But the only difference is now you have three teams in the mix because
right.
the
Instead of just
49ers are
two.
also there too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Last year with the Lions, it was just them and the Vikings.
right.
But you got three teams in the mix. So and then you
Yeah,
have three teams in the mix in the AFC South with Jacksonville,
yeah,
Indianapolis, and Houston. So then
yeah.
you have three teams in the mix really in the AFC North. It's really
Yeah,
good
that's true.
stuff.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
talked about that as well
Yeah.
because, like I say, despite injury and this person being out
Hmm.
or whatever, I don't want to say they squandered it, but no one really took advantage of it because they all still kind of had the same record throughout the season. So now
Right.
despite everything, they're all still kind of sitting in the same spot, and it's
Right.
anybody's
Yeah.
game right now. So
Yeah.
it's so many. I feel like there's so many tight races, and this is probably one of those years where even if you don't make the playoffs, it doesn't necessarily mean that you sucked. Because like you
Right.
said, with some of these teams, you might have to have 10 or 11 games to win. Not to win, to make it to the playoffs.
Right. I think it's
So
quite possible that you'll have a team that win 10 games this year and they don't make the
and don't make the
playoffs.
playoffs. Yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
possible. Yeah.
crazy to
Because it's
say,
that many good teams. Yeah. Yeah. So it'll be good. We got another month to go. It'll be
right?
good to see.
Well, that's all I got for today. You got anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay,
That's
perfect.
it.
All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. We hope that you guys enjoyed it. Of course, if you haven't already, please go ahead and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. That way you get updated whenever we upload an episode. And of course, it also helps us out as well. All right, stay tuned until the next one.
All right, y'all. Stay here till we get back.